welcome my friends to the show that never ends, and we're both here, although only one of us went to the Wycombe game again. Kieran.
Oh, because your missus is a big supporter complaining that you don't go to any games because you can't go on a Tuesday.
But you just make excuses and don't bother going anymore. And you know, after yesterday's game, I might be making an awful lot of excuses not to bother going anymore. If somebody had asked me, hey, do you mind missing such and such a game in 2 weeks' time, I probably would be saying yes after what a game. We will start with that. We'll get to the Premier League in a mo, and we will also, that's my what a bad habit saying moment. And we will also no, it's not my worst. And we'll also get to the alcohol later. And I tell you, I could have done with the alcohol yesterday after the game, to be honest, or during even. I mean, hey, we had half an hour wait during it. Reasons why. Right, without getting to the football as such, here's a little bit of writing. Managers. I watched. Well, first of all, if you watch the highlights, you don't get any idea what happened during the game. Then when I watched the game, come home, and then I saw their managers' comments. Then I saw our manager's comments, and very, very odd. Here we go. Okay, number one, Hanlon, injured. He was conscious as he was forced off in the first half, and received oxygen from medical staff after he landed heavily after challenging for a ball with Stevenage's Carl. Oh no, Perugini. Just to say, what they call challenging for the ball, can I just say, no, he ran into their player and fell round him and landed heavily. Hanlon doesn't
look, this is
challenge for the ball. He just goes straight through the player. All right, no, okay. Then in the second half, after we'd had the 14 minutes extra time in the first half for this, stretched off, we then had, I think it's his knee, by the way, and I'd be, from the equipment you could see them using on the pitch, I know, and the fall that you saw him have, I'd be surprised if he's back for a while. I don't think we're going to see him for a while. Leahy also suffered a major injury, which we had another 14 minutes added in the second half. He went up for the ball, he got a knock, and he landed flat on his face, and he was out. He was stretchered off before the game restarted. Now, here's the statements. This is their manager, I think. Well, basically he said best wishes to both players, get well soon, blah, 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 you know. Steve Evans shared his concern after the match. He claimed that Wycombe wanted the game abandoned. However, Wycombe boss Matt Bloomfield has denied this. He said, I'll be the first to message Matty to make sure Luke is okay.
Gary Lineker's done his prep again.
Yeah, my players were telling our bench that Wycombe Wanderers wanted the game abandoned. The staff, the players wanted the game stopped. They were 1-0 down with only 8 minutes to go. 1,000,000%. If you've got what happened at Leyton Orient a few weeks back, when people are fighting for their lives and fertilities, then 1,000,000 present. 1,000,000%. But I instructed myself, blah, 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 blah. And then Matt Bloomfield said, that was dreadful. That wasn't what I said. That wasn't what we did. I mean, for goodness sake, guys, aren't you adults? What a load of... It's like playground. I said we should stop the game. I didn't say that. I mean, for goodness sake, who cares, really? What a load of dribble. One of the things, though, that Matt Bloomfield did say, and I couldn't quite figure it out, was he was disgusted with what happened. And I was thinking, what was disgusted?
Stevenage fans throwing things at Leahy when he was being stretched off.
Really? Right. Okay. I didn't know that. And really?
That's why I got... Hello, Josh. This is why he messaged me saying that he was disgusted by Stevenage because their fans were throwing things at him when he was being stretched off.
I can see why Matt Bloomfield would have been disgusted with that.
Yeah.
That maybe calling them Stevenage fans, I don't know, human beings just. Well, I mean, how sick do you have to be, really?
Mm.
Well, that really, no, that's pathetic, isn't it? Pathetic. Wycombe were awful. Okay, we'll separate that. That's that done. So we've lost Hanlon. I'd not be surprised if it's the rest of the season, to be honest.
He's out for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And then we've got Leahy. Thank goodness it was concussion. Should be back fairly shortly. Thank goodness for that. He's one of our better players. Wycombe were awful. It was a dreadful game, incredibly boring. The main difference, well, two things I'm going to say. One is every time Wycombe went into a tackle, they went down and got a free kick. I'm not saying that was bad. It's just, why didn't Wycombe do that? And because this referee was a dribble, in all honesty, he was a dribble. We were lucky, but the goalkeeper stayed on. Wycombe's goalkeeper stayed on because when Leahy went down, you saw Wycombe's goalkeeper, and I was at the other end. You saw Wycombe's goalkeeper take a punch at one of their players in the air. I mean, he went up, boom, went for him. And I'm thinking, oh, no, that's a red card, that is. And he gave him a yellow. But it was 15 minutes later he gave him the yellow. And I think, did he book Leahy for... No, he booked one of the Wycombe players that was on the ground. Hanlon was a free kick to their player, I might add, because Hanlon's tackle was pretty awful, which is how he injured himself, because it wasn't very clever. And I thought he booked Leahy, maybe he didn't. I'm not sure, look that up. But yeah, Wycombe's goalkeeper, lucky to be on the pitch afterwards. I presume he just wanted the game stopped instantly, and they didn't. And so I presume he then carried on, and so he took a punch at a player. I don't know. It was very strange. Dreadful game. The difference between them and us was a guy called Reed up front. They got a guy called Jamie Reed, and he scored 10 goals this season. Wycombe in the first half had Hanlon, wasn't going to score to save your life. Taylor, not a hope in hell. And then replaced Hanlon with DeBar, never going to score to save your life. And that was it. Their goalkeeper might as well have gone home, packed his suitcase and left. Wycombe was shocking. Yeah, awful game. And we had half an hour, quarter of an hour in the first half and quarter of an hour in the second half of extra time. Wycombe are now 6 points only from the relegation spot. You could say we're 6 points from going up.
Either way, it's a tight league.
It's a tight league,
But it's
but
still very early.
and it is very early, but early in the sense of 16 matches,
We
and
are.
we're smack in the middle, and it would be very easy if you don't keep it together to end up in the bottom, and it would be very, I'll say easy, to play 4 decent games and get in the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to keep it together. Is you can't get away for 3 weeks having a little bad run, because you'll soon find yourself down there, won't you?
I mean, this is the thing. We haven't won a game in the league since the 7th of October.
Exactly.
Which is when we were about 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
And we've drawn to Peterborough, lost to Bolton, drawn to Oxford, which wasn't a bad result, drawn to Cambridge, and lost to Stevenage. So it's 3 draws and 2 losses. I mean, there's some good teams there. Stevenage are above us. Oxford were obviously above us. Peterborough, I assume, were above us. The teams, I mean, Cambridge, we really needed to win against.
And the interesting thing is, look who we're
Bolton
playing next.
You tell me.
Wigan.
No.
Oh no, we're not playing. That's been cancelled.
We're playing Wimbledon in the EFL Trophy. Then we've got Reading at home.
Yeah, and they're bottom. So we got to beat Reading. We got to take that chance. We can't not beat Reading, can we? But there we go. So we're having a little bit of a not so good time. I mean, if you look at it, like you say, last game we won in the league was 7th of October against Fleetwood. In the league since, we've drawn Peterborough, lost 4-2 to Bolton, drawn Oxford, drawn Cambridge, and now lost Stevenage. Not a great run, and you've got to hope he turns that round. The problem we got is, unlike them, who can play pretty naff, they've got a finisher, and their goal was really good. I like their goal. We've got nobody to finish. We've got nobody to score the goals. They've got. Do you know what I would do? I said to Paul when we left, I said, stick Wheeler up front. Put him as a centre forward. You do that with your face. Who else? At least he can score goals. Was it 7 last year, something like that? He can head the ball, he can hold the ball up, and he can run. I'd say put him as the number 9.
He can't run.
Put him as the number 9. He's as good as any of them. I mean, Taylor, what was the point? You know, I decided at a certain point in the game to start watching Taylor because I hadn't seen him. And I wanted to see where he ran to and what he did, because he was never in the game. But he was never separate. He was always stood. You know, that's the first thing. He was always stood. And he was always stood next to one of their centre-backs. He was never going to score a goal. He was never going to get the ball. He's not a big guy.
But we've never had a striker who has scored 20 goals in a season.
I'm not asking him to score 20. I'm asking him to score a couple.
I don't think Wheeler's going to do that by being up there.
Well, Taylor isn't. Do we need to buy? Do we need to buy? And can we just say, sat here? Can we? But can he? I mean, can you afford?
Probably not, because all the good strikers that you'll find in League Two will be bought by the top 8 to 10 in League One in terms of money, and we aren't the top 8 to 10 in League One in terms of money, and so we won't.
So what do Wycombe do?
So we have to look.
We just thud our way through this like this, do we?
Well, and the team that we are, the kind of the structure of the club we have, Unfortunately, that's probably going to be
it.
what we have to do. The only reason that we have been a little bit successful in recent years in terms of in the transfer market of saying players on is because we somehow found Mehmeti. And I don't think that was due to one person's potential kind of genius of seeing him and thinking, oh, he's going to be a really good player. But he also may have got about 15 others wrong in the one that he's got right. It's not as like this is why United's buy a crap ton of players and Chelsea bought a crap ton of players, and none of them are actually that brilliant or fit into the team that brilliantly well.
You see, we've got a number of players that are out at the moment. We're looking at them, like Grimmer, McCarthy. I mean, we've got loads that are actually injured at the moment, but none of the ones that are injured at the moment, you think, oh, I can't wait till they come back because then great, off we go. Because it doesn't feel like that. Are there any players we've got in that team that can do a job like the West Ham striker? Yeah, who was a defender, who they put up front. Have we got?
No,
I mean, Farino, would he be of any use up front?
This is why you're not a football
manager. No, this is for debate. You see, I'm not suggesting. Yeah.
It just doesn't really happen like that, unfortunately. Because we'd have granted might win a header, but if you're asking him to run in behind, he's not going to win anything.
So
he's not going to dribble at a defender and beat him.
Do we stick with what we've got then?
We have to, unfortunately.
So that means no goals.
Because that's not true because we're exactly middle of the road. So we're better than 12 teams in this league.
That's a shock, isn't it?
So there'll be 12 other teams podcasts doing this thinking we haven't got a striker either.
No, that's right.
And potential, although we've said this for multiple years. Last year we said, oh, we've got Vokes, was about it, and he's not that brilliant. In years previous to that, we said we've got Akinfenwa, but we need someone to have alongside Akinfenwa. And he chipped in with about 10 to 15 goals a season, which actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a problem here, don't we? And we'll always have this problem. And it's something I'm just going to have to stop banging my head on the wall about and put up with.
If you think of the brilliant players who we've had who have been goal scorers and that sort of thing, when Karen Hall had his little stint and got sold to Millwall in 2015 or whatever, we had him for half a season and got sold. Mehmeti we actually had for quite a while, considering how good he was. Karen Hall, Paris.
Yeah.
On Udinma, I think we had maybe for a season before we got sold and then came back. You don't keep them for very long if they are any good.
No.
So this is why he's potentially trying to get loads of people who will score 10 a season. Because then other teams may not look at it and think, oh, we really want him because he's a 20-goal season striker.
I'd say there's one player in the team. I mean, I've been playing devil's advocate. I do wonder a little bit about Wheeler if he were to play up there with somebody else. But there's one player that played yesterday, and I do wonder whether he might be more entertaining up front for us.
And you're about to look up his name.
Yeah, well, I want to get it right. And that's Phillips. I wonder about Phillips. You see, he doesn't control things that great in midfield, but he is one of these people that causes absolute grief. And I just wonder whether putting him slightly further forward, he would cause enough grief for others to be able to get there. You see, I watched the Wolves game yesterday, or match of the day, and one of the things they pointed out about Wolves was how quick they all moved forward. And what Wycombe don't do is go. There's no nobody touches the paper, boom, off we go. We didn't go anywhere. And I just wonder whether if Phillips were to get the ball, he'd cause enough chaos long enough for the rest of the midfield to go. And it's the midfield that have the skill of scoring the goals.
Mm.
And I just think the forward doesn't need to score them. They have to cause chaos for the midfield to be there to score the goals. I wonder. Write what you think. I wonder. So Wycombe were crap. Stevenage were crap. They've got a goal scorer. And the chances are, as you've said, if they've got a goal scorer, chances are he won't be there for very long, will he?
No.
He'll be gone. And then they'll be in the same spot that Wycombe are. And in fact, they're not any much higher than we are, really. They're points wise. And when they lose him, they will be in trouble because they don't have anybody else that can score a goal. Anyway,
most strikers in the lower leagues do turn out to be failures is a strong word. Like they'll go up one division, not score any, come back down, and they'll find a division. You won't find many players who continuously score goals for each club they go to. The one that comes to mind is Tony, who played for Peterborough.
One of a few.
Peterborough then went somewhere else and then went to Brentford and then he got promoted with Brentford and all that.
Yeah, you can't think of. I mean,
Vardy is
yeah.
Who actually came from the lower leagues and built himself up.
Yeah.
To continuously score goals.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it doesn't happen very often, does it?
I mean, even like, I'm thinking Billy Sharp for Sheffield United, when he was scoring loads of goals in the Championship and League One, went to Premier League and did nothing.
That's what normally happens, isn't it? That they move up until they're no good.
Yeah.
And Wycombe will always pick up theirs from lower until they're no good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, Mehmeti will come back down because he's not having that brilliant time at Bristol.
No.
And Paris came back down, and Fred will, I think, has come back down.
Yeah.
I don't know where Fred is actually at the moment. He's not set loose, is he?
I haven't heard nor seen of him.
I assume not.
No. Apart from that, just to say that Farino obviously was man of the match. I say obviously because the others were so poor. I mean, 4 of our players on the 10-point whatever scale that I look at got 5s, which is pretty low. You've got to be poor to get a 5 something. And that was McCleary got 5.8, Hanlon a 5.6, Taylor was a 5.3, and Mr. Goalkeeper got 5.7. Not quite sure why, because he couldn't have saved the goal. That was a brilliant goal. He couldn't have done anything about that. And he punched somebody and managed to stay on the pitch, which I think was a brilliant save in one sense. But anyway, there we go. Wheeler got 6.9 as well. He was the second best player on the pitch, and I'd let him have that. Okay, moving on then. We're going to just head straight into the Premier League for the last 2 days, and we'll start. So this is Kieran's bit.
Mm-hmm.
Kieran, would you like to start? I will mention 1 or 2 things.
So we had yesterday the first game. Wolves 2, Tottenham 1. Good to see Spurs losing a few games now. In all fairness, they did concede 2 in the last 7 minutes. So it's like,
you don't like Spurs then?
I'd rather they didn't win. Well, because I have this thing that if anyone but Man City wins the league, I do care. Like if Spurs were to win the league, I'd care because I don't want to see them win. Whereas if City win, I don't care. And so it's good to see them lose. They were getting a little bit too good, and they've had a bit of luck with like VAR and all that sort of thing, so they kind of deserve it. They have, although Maddison got injured and he was in the fantasy team, so that's not good for me.
Don't worry about the noise, it's fireworks.
Wolves, they've done well, haven't they? To be fair to them this season, they are 11th, and people were picking them to go down. And
They deserved that game as well.
yeah, 2 of their 4 wins have been against City and Spurs, so you can't knock them for that.
I think they're getting there, aren't they? I know I get a bit tired of always hearing, well, we're getting better, but you can't have 20 teams getting better, otherwise they'll all be top.
I think they do have a little bit of a problem in that I think a lot of players are just in form. Like Huang up front last season scored 2, and this season scored 6 or 7, and could just be in good form. I don't think he's actually that brilliant. And some of their others, I mean, to be fair, they've had Pedro Neto get injured, and he was very good and hasn't been there. And they did get done by VAR a couple of times recently. So
yeah,
they'll be good. They'll be fine.
But what about when Tottenham's 4 players come back?
Yeah, but that'll be a while. Madison's out till January at the late.
So they could lose it by then, couldn't they?
Arsenal 3, Burnley 1.
Burnley
are crap, which is good to see because, as I've explained recently, I'm quite pessimistic, aren't I?
Well, you get it. You get everything from me.
Yeah. Company's just he thinks he's the. I'm not going to swear. He thinks he's brilliant.
It's his hat. Manager. I can't stand his hat.
His hat.
He looks a complete wally.
It's the fact that it's a hat and suit. It
just
really
looks a complete Dumbo. He's probably got his Ferrari outside, you know.
I mean, you can't tell an awful lot of just what the team sheet is, but he has gone for a 4-4-2 at the Emirates, and it's a bit like, isn't that a bit old school now? Like, it's not really a thing that people do, and it's a bit flat and obvious about how to play against it. And they've still got Jay Rodriguez up front, and he was done years ago. He's not that good at football.
But 4-4-2 has been done, hasn't it? It's been wrecked. People know if you have to keep changing, otherwise people can read it. It's not like in League One, where I'm afraid League One football isn't the same sport as Premier League football. You can see that by watching the games this weekend. It's different. And they can read 4-4-2. People don't play it because you can be taken apart with it now.
Also, I'm looking at when he decides to make his substitutions in the 80th and 85th minute, by which time they were already 3-0 down.
I was going to say it's a bit pointless, isn't it?
Which doesn't make an awful lot of sense to me. I mean, his bench did that. To be honest, I don't know many of Burnley's players, and if you're coming up to the Premier League and you're banking on the people who got you into the Premier League, it doesn't work that often. Palace 2, Everton 3.
Great game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Palace, they didn't deserve to lose, really. They should have had a penalty, I think.
Do you think it was?
Yeah. I mean, it was sort of a die. This is Ezra, isn't it? Eze is how you pronounce it.
He played for us.
Yeah, I know. And I just think, no, I think if that was Manchester United or Manchester City player, that would have been a penalty.
Yeah, probably. He did play very well, though.
He did. It's brilliant, wasn't he? No wonder he signed a new contract.
Both teams will do absolutely fine this season. Big up Rory. And Everton's team is all right. I mean, you do wonder because Everton have spent absolute crap tons of money, and their team looks very average. But their team also looks all right. Like it could be a team that's as good as like Aston Villa's, and Aston Villa are 5th, and like they could give each other a good game. The fact of the matter is that Aston Villa have a much better manager, and there's just a couple of players in there who shouldn't really be there. Like Ashley Young is still playing, and like
you have to say with that Everton team is you just touched on it, and that is they've spent a fortune. And they look okay. That's not good enough.
No, of course not. And I do wonder who they've actually spent money on in this team. Because it's been Calvert-Lewin, it's still been a striker for donkey's years. Onana they spent a lot of money on, and McNeil.
He played as well, didn't he? Calvert-Lewin. He's not injured at the moment.
No, he didn't score. But yeah, both will be all right. United won, Luton 0. I can't talk about them taking points off Luton because Liverpool drew them last week. But it's good to see that United are still pretty crap because they lost to Copenhagen midweek. And actually, all of Luton's players on the player rating system got more than United's players, which is quite funny.
Do you know the manager who's no Premier League manager has been sacked so far this season? Do you know that? That's one of the first to actually finally reach this point in the season with none sacked. But the favourite to go is Ten Hag. He is the top favourite. If you want to put money on it, he is your favourite manager to get sacked. And yet he's won
4 of the last 5.
and 30 out of his first 50. And that's the best rating ever for a Manchester United manager. So what's he doing wrong? If he's favourite to get sacked, but he's the best manager ever, what's he doing wrong? What is wrong?
Champions League, they're not doing brilliantly, and they do get whacked by all the decent teams. I mean, another team who have spent an absolute fortune and their team looks beyond average.
They're 1 billion in debt as well.
Like a back four, Dalot, Maguire, Lindelof, and Reguilon. they're all good players, and I would take them as reserve players at Liverpool. But that should not be a back four for United. McTominay and Eriksen as a holding two is just ain't yet because Eriksen's 50 and McTominay. He's all right, to be honest, but he shouldn't be there.
He's one of the few Manchester United players that you can say has improved rather than gone downhill.
Yeah,
don't you reckon? I think he has improved.
Yeah.
That's a rarity at Manchester United, a player getting better.
I mean, there's obviously more that goes on in Rashford's life than how much we obviously know. I do like to see him do badly, but that's just because
it's not very nice.
It's not very nice, but it's just like English media hyping him up to be this absolute superstar, and in actual fact, I don't think he's that brilliant. And so I like to see him do poorly, which is probably awful because I imagine he's someone. Well, he definitely is someone who gets in his own head. Because if you see that he responded to Goldbridge did a video where the title of it was Rashford's position in jeopardy, kind of alluding to the fact that he was going to leave.
Yeah,
but he doesn't actually talk about that in the video.
I heard about this.
He talks about Rashford's position in the team being in jeopardy as opposed to in the actual club. And so Rashford responds on Twitter by being like, "Oh, these are false rumors and stuff." And it's like, you shouldn't be getting involved in any of that sort of thing.
No, he's got a problem, hasn't he? He hasn't scored for.
He scored like 1 this season.
Yeah, the last 20 matches or so. It's a ridiculous amount. He don't score anymore. He's a forward that don't score, and his crosses. He had a shot yesterday. It should have been a goal, but it's so weak. I always said that about him, that he can't blast them, and yet sometimes he does.
Well, he is the ultimate player that thrives off of confidence and stuff like that.
And you can't rely on that, can you? Because games you win, games you lose, and if you lose one, you've got to fight for the next game. And if you just go downhill after losing one.
You put it this way, I mean, you can tell that Salah a lot of the time is pretty pissed off and miffed, and he still scores every week. But Rashford, if he's annoyed, then he won't score for 20 odd games. But Anyway, sorry, Marcus. Bournemouth 2, Newcastle nil. Surprise, but Newcastle do have an awful lot of injuries.
Yeah, do you see that thing with old Trigger?
I wouldn't say that. Trippier. Um,
Well, he did sort of, get a little bit. He said it was just a chat, didn't he? I just had a chat.
In all fairness, like
he didn't lose it at all, but
the team they put out, they had to play a midfield three of Longstaff, Miley, who I assume is just a young player, and Willock, and a front three of Almiron, Gordon, and Joe Linton, which is not their normal front three whatsoever.
No.
And so they are unfortunately bogged down by injuries, and so
they just don't have the stock, do they, in the back? They can't replace a good player with a good player.
Well, I think they can. It's just they do have an awful lot of injuries, like Isak and Wilson not being there, and so like our front three of Almiron, Gordon, and Joe Linton isn't awful, but then you have to take Joe Linton out of the midfield, and yeah, it's not ideal.
I just think they, and I think their fans have got a little bit too. We're off to Europe. We're going to win the league attitude, and give them a chance. I think they might contend for, but just not quite yet. Give them a chance. And this whole thing, they said on Match of the Day, not this week, but last, something about they just didn't put the effort in or something. And I'm thinking that's rubbish. When people accuse their players of not trying, that's just such a weak argument for losing. And I don't believe footballers go out onto that pitch and the whole team can't be bothered. I don't believe that. I think we've said this before. Do you ever play any game that you just can't be bothered?
I mean, if you go like 4 or 5 nil down, you think that. Like, even then, you try and do as like the motivation might not be as high, but you do still try and play as best as you can.
Yeah, of course you do, and I think that's just a cheap.
The thing is, they beat United and Arsenal in recent weeks, and yet they're still complaining. So, Aston Villa 3, Fulham 1. Aston Villa are doing a bit too well as well. Don't like to see that. No, it's just like. It annoys me.
No, I don't want anybody to win.
No, it annoys me that how well some of them are playing under this new manager, and they didn't do that. From the perspective of just watching them on Match of the Day and stuff, it did not look like they were putting in the effort that they are under this bloke as they did under Gerrard.
Oh no, isn't this what we've just talked about?
Well, exactly, that's what I'm saying. But it does annoy me because McGinn for Gerrard was blooming awful, and yet for this bloke he's brilliant.
On the other hand, Gerrard's earning a fortune now, isn't he?
I'm sure Stevie doesn't particularly care, but there you go. Whether Watkins, he's going to have to stop at some point because he's scoring a few too many and he's going to start playing for England, and we don't want that.
No, don't want that. As we say every week, don't we? That we actually had him down last year as the worst striker in any team, and now
Harry's doing well though, so Harry will keep his place in the England team. Big up Harry. Brighton 1, Sheffield United 1. Didn't see any of it. Brighton are. I mean, I know they're 8th, and that's not bad whatsoever, but they are a bit stinky compared to what they were last year.
Well, I think they've been found out. That's why I think their particular style of play, they do a they do a Liverpool sort of, and they try to take the ball off on the halfway line, and I think they've been found out really, and they don't have it. I mean, Liverpool get away with it almost. It's pretty heart attack time, but Brighton can't now.
I mean, they do also have a lot of injuries, and they do get their players bought by teams on a regular basis. Like, obviously, McAllister and Caicedo aren't there, and so they are playing like their attacking midfield three was Bun Buonanotte,
I'm glad you said that, not me.
Lalana, and Adingra, and they had Ansu Fati up front, who's not actually a striker, and so I do feel a bit sorry for them in that perspective. But at the same time, it's never normally affected them before when they've had players bought, and so I think it is now catching up to them. Like Sheffield United at home should be your guaranteed 3 points this season. So there you go.
A bit like Luton, Liverpool.
Liverpool 3, Brentford 0. Nunez was brilliant.
Brilliant.
Simicast for once.
He had a quiet game, didn't he? Didn't you think? Sorry, who?
Simicast. Left back.
Oh yeah, no, he was good. I was going to say your midfielder.
Szoboszlai.
Yeah, I thought he was quiet.
He had that brilliant start, and then since we played Bournemouth in the League Cup, and then played Luton and Toulouse, he has looked a little bit meh and hasn't done an awful lot. But other players are doing quite well. I mean, Salah, I don't think did much at all in the game apart from score 2, but isn't that what he normally does?
I'd have him.
Nunez, as I said, was brilliant. Jota is scoring goals.
And yeah, he didn't score. I almost feel sorry for him when he don't score, but I hope he's happy. I'm sure Klopp will be.
Yeah. I mean, because he essentially makes the first one, and he just causes chaos the entire time. Jota's goal was very good. He's scoring quite a few this season, which I'm glad to see. Virgil, to be fair, does look as solid as he has
used
done
to
in the past.
He did, yeah. He's got over that little bit in between, yeah.
And everyone else was solid. Brentford should have scored a couple though, and so there's a slight worry, and you've got to take forwards and kind of think about.
Got to wait till Tony returns. They might have done something in that game with him, mightn't they? They had their chances, and all they could do was stick it 20 foot above the goal. But they shouldn't have done. They should have scored a few of them.
West Ham 3, Nottingham Forest 2. Didn't see it, but the last 2 goals were both corners from Ward-Prowse. And West Ham's first goal, Nottingham Forest just for some reason gave them the ball. So it sounds like a good game, but not as good as the last game, which was Chelsea 4, Man City 4.
Only watched the second half.
But 40-year-old Thiago Silva scoring is fun. Haaland got some points for my fantasy team, so thank you, Erling.
You're on first name terms now.
Would have been a shame if City had won it because of the deflected goal.
Yeah. If he just stuck his foot out and let it wobble. If you're gonna block it. Otherwise, you're probably better off just letting it go, because your goalkeeper was in place. He knew where it was going. Your goalkeeper went for it, and he dangled his foot just to change its direction a bit. And it was enough to go in. And don't yawn. And I thought, damn, it always happens. This always happens. And then the penalty, excellent. And didn't he take that penalty well?
He's going to be someone who I think England could have a look at some point. Maybe not yet, but he is.
Well, it won't be yet. Not with the manager we got.
Well, no, but he's never done anything that I thought that was awful or anything like that. He does look very solid.
You know where they got it from, do you?
Well, City.
Yeah.
I mean, there's players like that, like Palmer for Chelsea, like Elliott for Liverpool. They've never given a look into.
No.
And he plays every game for Liverpool. And if you're an English midfielder playing for like the top 6, I mean, because Phillips is still in there, and Phillips doesn't play a bloody game for City.
No, I know. And I think Foden is pretty poor. Actually, I really do think Foden. I'm amazed he gets a look in at City. I really am. I'm surprised he hasn't changed him.
Well, I mean, he wouldn't really have De Bruyne, but
Yeah. But yeah, so that the Chelsea game, I'll be interested. I haven't seen much of Chelsea, but I tell you, Sterling had a great game, and he's been dropped by England.
I think they are getting there, Chelsea. Like, I know, obviously, Spurs had their 2 players sent off on Monday and all that sort of thing, but I think they are getting
But it was, I mean, any team that takes City to a 4-all means
there. You've
a
done
bit
well.
wild, and it meant City had no control of the game, that they were just running up and down the pitch as Chelsea were, and that isn't what City do, is it?
No.
So they had no control of the game, but they could score 4 goals because they have that quality on the pitch. But to let 4 goals in, I would think, Pep must be going bananas now. He would not be a happy bunny. How much of that was lack of stones in the defence, I wonder? Lack of calm and control.
Who knows, mate?
Who knows? Okay, that's the football. Any other comment you want to make?
International breaks are rubbish. There's always this early time in the season where they have quite a few, though. So hopefully, obviously, it does die down a little bit, but it's just a bit annoying.
Who cares, really? You know,
But I think not that they have to do something about it, because there's no what you could do about it. But the fact that we do have to go through qualifiers every single time, and the qualifiers should be shorter in some way. Like maybe you play every team once as opposed to twice.
Seeded. Should be seeded.
What should be seeded?
The qualifiers.
They are seeded.
Yeah, but more so that you don't have to play these dozy little teams that nobody cares about.
Then how do the dozy little teams get up?
Because the dozy little teams played like you do the FA Cup, but you make it, in that they play all each other until you get up so far, and the same should apply.
But then we might play someone like Switzerland, and there should be a shock loss to Switzerland, and then we're not in.
That's why you don't play them. Yeah.
Well, I think you just do one game at neutral, but then there's no point in having. Don't know.
What about knockout?
No, because then we might play Switzerland and lose to Switzerland.
Maybe we discuss this sometime, but it's a load of crap. It's in the end, you've got to remember, football is there for the fans, and when the fans are all sat around saying, "Oh, bloody hell, not a home international," then it isn't for the fans anymore, is it?
But at the same time, we might think this because we think watching our country is boring, and it is because of the manager we have at the moment. If our country was Spain of like the 2010s, then we might have enjoyed it a bit more. But we don't enjoy it because our country's crap.
Yeah.
Well, our country's
Manager.
crap. Our manager's crap.
Yeah. Okay, we'll stop there. We'll now do the alcohol bit. So if you're under the age or whatever, now is the time for you to turn off, and we're going to do a very interesting alcohol bit. So hang on. Right, off we go then. What we've got here is we've got anti-establishment IPA, which is your Aldi nick of Brewdog Punk IPA. Okay, so one is one and one the other. Now the anti-establishment IPA is Aldi's 5.6 brewed in Scotland, and then we've got the Brewdog Punk IPA, which is, he says, it's 5.4, so it isn't as strong as. They're not brewed by the same company, I might add. Now here I have the two glasses. That one's got a bit more of a head on it. Kieran's put a note thingy down here that's upside down, and I don't know which one is which. What I do know is the Aldi IPA, that is the rip-off, is about half the price. So let's try this one first, shall we? This. Now, which one's going to be? This one has an awful lot more flavour in it. If you smell that, that's weak in flavour. So, and this one also has a lack of head on it compared with that one. Okay, let's try the weaker one then. This one oh no, the second one with the head on it, that one I think is miles better than that one. Okay, so my guess is the number one on my left, I'm guessing is going to be your Brewdog, and the one on the right, which doesn't have the head and doesn't taste as nice, therefore is your half price Aldi. Shall we see whether I've got that right? I think that must be right. A and B. Let's take A. Well, I'm blowed. I'm wrong. So, in fact, the one that I prefer, the one that I think has a slightly better head, the one with the much more bitter flavour in the smell to it, and the one that I drank and thought, oh, that one's miles better than that one, is the anti-establishment, is in fact the Aldi beer. I prefer the Aldi beer to the Brewdog Punk IPA. Now, how is that? I mean, definitely. That is mad. I mean, they're very similar. But one I just prefer to the other. How one just has that little bit better taste to it. I'm blown away. Now I'm going to have to keep that can over here and that one with that. Isn't that mad? I just thought it was just going to be so plain and obvious. Now, I'm just going to go and get the can for next week's test. So there we go, everybody. I'm going to drink the Brewdog a bit, so then save my favourite. See, that's very metal. Taste the metal in it, almost like you're drinking the can. It's got a much more rounded, much more whole taste. It's got a much better whole taste. That's just like drinking metal. Okay, so off we go, and I'll just go and get the can to show you what we're doing next week. Okay, here's next week's. Some of you already know this one. It's the Mad Squirrel Roadkill New England IPA 6.5. This is one of my favourites. You buy it in a number of different places. You buy it from their company, whatever. I bought this in Wetherspoons and just stuck it in my bag rather than drinking it. I don't think they'll mind particularly. They sell it in Wetherspoons in Wycombe. It'll cost you £3.20, I think, for the can. This is one of my favourites. Go and try it. Or you can go and have a pint of it on tap in Mad Squirrel in Wycombe, opposite the church there. But they'll charge you £7.50 for a pint of it. So I know which I would recommend. I don't get paid by any of these companies, by the way, to advertise their beers. But if you're interested in giving me free beers to advertise your beer, hey, I'm open to it, like free Wycombe tickets to say how good you are. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye now. I've got 2 cans of beer to drink. Damn it. Brewdog and Anti-Establishment. Go along to this place and give this a go. Actually, this is your Anti-Establishment from Aldi. Anti-Establishment from Aldi. Great. I'm really impressed. I think I might go along and buy a few of these. I always liked IPA. It was one of my favourites, and I've found one that's better at half the price.